Yamashita's gold is one of the greatest treasure hoards ever known.
In today's currency, it represents over $100 billion in value.
According to the myth, this incredible fortune was amassed from proceeds of ruthless Japanese looting throughout Asia during World War II. For one amateur treasure hunter, finding the gold becomes a lifelong obsession. But little did he know, he has a mighty rival. One of the most brutal dictators of the 20th century.
Marcos was unquestionably a thug. He was a gangster.
This is the extraordinary story of Roger Rojas and the legend of Yamashita's gold. As they advance, they mercilessly ransack country after country. They steal on a massive scale, reportedly unrivaled in military history.
Yamashita's gold is wealth beyond belief. People wouldn't believe how much it is. $1 trillion worth. So it's a mind-blowing amount.
The mastermind heading this covert operation, codenamed the Golden Lily, is said to be Prince Chichibu, the Emperor's brother.
This guy is brilliant. Prince Chichibu was a perfect choice to head up the Golden Lily because he wasn't just a military man. He was an Oxford scholar, and he brought an incredible amount of creativity and lateral thinking to how we'll go about this complex process of looting.
The Golden Lily operatives just completely took everything from all the countries. They left them with nothing. They invaded, they took all their wealth, and just left them penniless.
It wasn't just banks and financial institutions, but it also had museums, temples, art galleries, rare books, anything that was worth money. They knew about it, and where it was, how much it was worth, and they took it. The Golden Lily's looting was so comprehensive, they even targeted the underworld, the gangster world, the black markets, and they absolutely drained them of anything that was of value.
Having amassed treasures of all shapes and sizes, the Golden Lily's mission is far from over. They need to get it back home to Japan. First, they melt the gold into easy-to-move ingots. But the smelting also serves a shadier purpose.
When gold is made, it is stamped, and you can tell where it came from. But when it's been resmelted, you don't know where it came from. They wanted to stamp the little sign on the gold bars that the gold was actually made in Japan. Then it would look like the gold was Japanese gold of Japanese origin.
The stolen gold is then brought to the Philippines. There, it is inventoried and sent on to Japan by ship.
The Philippines was chosen as the Golden Lily's transportation hub because it was pretty much in the center of the vast Japanese empire.
For the first year of operations, the Golden Lily's transportation network runs like clockwork. But then, the tide of the war turns. In June 1942, Japanese and U.S. forces meet near the tiny Pacific island of Midway. Over just 4 days, the U.S. forces sink 5 Japanese ships. finest fighting general, Tomoyuki Yamashita.
He has an incredible track record. Nobody has the reputation he does. And if anyone can pull him out of the hat, it would be him.
With the gold now stuck in the Philippines, Yamashita is being asked to come up with a miracle. The story goes, he is told to hide the gold until it is safe to move. He identifies 175 suitable burial sites across the Philippines. They will hold the gold until the Japanese are once again victorious. And the Philippines prove the ideal place to hide this treasure.
They put it in very isolated parts throughout the Philippines, mostly covered by very mountainous terrain and a thick, thick jungle. Once you got these tunnels built, it would become virtually impossible to see that there had been anything ever buried there because of the growth rate in the jungle.
Detailed maps to be made of the exact location of each treasure vault. And each map is carefully encoded.
These maps were done in an old Japanese dialect called kanji, a language which is between 1,500 and 2,000 years old, and there were no topographical references on them. They used the old characters to represent certain landmarks.
Unless you know the complex code, these maps are meaningless. And there are even further layers of security.
Bombs, grenades, decoy walls that would lead you into another trap.
The Golden really left nothing to chance. And they had a vast system of booby traps that consisted of poisonous gas, explosives, complex use of the water table. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to drown in your pursuit of reaching the treasures.
But the maps that were drawn highlighted where all those traps were. If you didn't have a map and you went into one of these treasure vaults, it's very likely that you wouldn't come out alive.
And to ensure all the treasure vault locations remain top secret, the number of people in the know is ruthlessly kept to a minimum.
They use prisoner of war or local slave labor to build the actual treasure vaults. And the people who are building it don't know why, but that's irrelevant. They're going to die anyway. So they're usually killed, shot on the spot.
April 1945. The Japanese are losing the war in the Pacific. Japanese General Tomoyuki Yamashita's priority now is to hide the looted gold. While U.S. naval forces continue to advance, Yamashita is forced to retreat back to the mountains around the northern city of Baguio.
Their systematic hiding of their national treasure becomes less systematic and more panicked. They need to do it immediately because they're about to suffer defeat. 174 treasure vaults done and dusted. Only one is left.
With time running out, Yamashita orders the chief engineers to seal the final treasure vault.
These engineers knew everything. They knew how the maps were made. They knew where the burial sites were. They knew how they were booby-trapped.
What they don't know is that Yamashita has one last move to protect the gold. The story goes that while the engineers are carrying out his orders, Yamashita seals the vault himself. The engineers are still inside. Now they will be its guardians for eternity. Yamashita takes the secrets of the gold to his grave. There is only one other person who allegedly knows of the gold's whereabouts. Prince Chichibu. And in 1953, he dies of TB.
Anybody who knew anything about this treasure is now dead.
It seems Yamashita's gold is lost forever.